It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, folks, the Center for Research and Economics, the Arkansas Center for Research and Economics, on the campus of the University of Central Arkansas. We've had guests from this great organization on before. Recently, there was an article that caught my eye. I'm going to go ahead and put it up on the screen for everybody here so you can see it there. It is an article by a friend of mine, Mr. Caleb Taylor. And he writes that this particular Arkansas county has the most transparent government. And it basically, the Arkansas Center for Research and Economics, they've come out with this transparency index. And it's the first one that they've done where they go county by county, and then they rank which counties in the state of Arkansas have the best transparency. Now, Washington County, according to this article Caleb Taylor wrote, received the highest overall transparency score, with Pulaski County, Benton, Garland, and Baxter rounding out the top 5. Here's the issue, though. For context, Arkansas counties earned an F grade in the 2013 Transparency Report Card produced by the Sunshine Review. And so here to talk more about that, I would like to welcome, from the Arkansas Center for Research and Economics, we have a policy analyst, Dr. Mavuto Kalulu, is here with us on the line, and the Arkansas Center for Research and Economics Program Director, Tara Acquia, joins us now. Guys, welcome to the program. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, we're excited to talk to you.
Okay, so let's just talk about transparency in general. I think most of us understand that it's important, but what do you guys think?
So based on the research that we've looked at, transparency is very, very important for a couple of reasons. I'll mention 5 of them here. It enhances the accountability. It also instills fiscal discipline. It also improves economic performance. It reduces corruption. And it also improves the relationship between government and citizens. So if you want to go like anecdotally, we don't even have to go very far to see how transparency reduces the cost of information requests. Just close by our neighbors, Mississippi. The Mississippi Department of Finance estimates that for every information request fulfilled by its transparency website, rather than by state employee, it saves them between $750 and $1,000 in staff time. So you can see that the transparency is really important in so many ways.
Yeah, especially, at the local level. I think a lot of people would assume that, hey, the local level, of course we're transparent, but that's not the case, not here. Well, you tell me, is that the case? And let's just think about the internet and whether or not some of this stuff is on the internet. What did you guys find? I mean, can the average citizen just go online and look up the documents they need, the information they need from their county?
In the state of Arkansas, for the most part, the answer to that would be no. And when we were starting to talk about transparency as a research topic, and we started looking through past reports and past research that the state had already done, we did take a look at what you already mentioned, the 2013 Sunshine Study, that said the state government in Arkansas actually did okay. They ended up scoring a B, but at the county level, counties really struggled. And so that was the point where we decided to really invest in some research time looking at the county level to see what information is there and what information isn't. And so our index is basically a summary of that information.
Yeah. I'm reminded, of course, I see here you've got county governments that they provide the services that really have a direct impact on our lives. And I think there was a story out of Fort Smith where, they were collecting the fees for, recycling. It turns out they weren't actually recycling. They were just taking the trash and putting it in a regular landfill. And so we do need some transparency here.
Yeah, so when such things happen, like we say, the county governments are very, very important because the services they provide, they affect the daily lives of every constituent. So when such money is not being used in the right way, it's the constituents that are suffering because of that. So people need to know what exactly is happening.
So this is the inaugural index about county transparency, the Arkansas Center for Research and Economics. We're talking with Dr. Mavuto Kalulu as well as Tara Acquia. So tell us a little bit about the methodology. I mean, how did you go about this particular transparency index?
So when we first started looking into the study, we decided very quickly that we wanted to focus primarily on web transparency, and there's a couple reasons for that. One, more people, just nationally, more people overall are using the internet as their main source to get information. So a Pew study showed that internet usage and strictly using the internet as an information source rose from 52% in 2000 to 89% more recently in 2018. So not only that, but more Arkansans are using the internet as their main way to get information, which I know there's a misconception, Arkansas is a very rural state. How many of these counties actually have access to resources and things like that? But according to the most recent 2018 FCC report, as of 2016, 58% of Arkansas's rural population actually has access to faster internet, and that's up from 16% in 2013. So just in a 3-year period, there's been a huge jump in internet usage in the state, which is really awesome and exciting, and really all the more reason to push for having more web transparency at the county level.
Okay, so it is focused on essentially using this amazing tool called the internet, get the information out there. Well, what kind of information though? Like what are you needing to put on the internet?
So what we did was the first thing was to look at the we didn't want to start like from scratch. We looked at the other assessments that have been conducted in other states and a few that have even been conducted here in Arkansas, including the Sunshine Review. So what we did, the reason we did that was we wanted to look at what information do they include when they are calculating their index. So we compiled all that information. Then the next thing was to go through the county websites and look whether they have that information or not. If they have that information, we assign a value of 1. If they don't, then we assign a value of 0. Then after that, we did a bunch of calculations, which our report explains very well in greater detail, but I'm not going to go into that. But most of them, it's like we are averaging out a lot of information so that we come up with the overall score. And that overall score, it's on a scale of 0 to 1. So the overall score for us, we actually have to divide the different types of transparency into 3. Then after that, we did a bunch of calculations and came up with the overall score.
So in your results, what was the number one? The most transparent county according to this new index.
So according to our most recent index, the most transparency county in Arkansas currently is Washington County. And so what that means is they provide more information on their county website than any other county in the state. So they provide more fiscal information, more administrative, and more political information on their county websites for their citizens to access.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you need counties to improve, needed more of the counties to look more like Washington County, what kind of information, what ideas should the other folks, JPs who are listening right now, what should they do?
So what we did, like I said, was to break down the transparency into 3 different types. So the first one is the fiscal transparency, which is the disclosure of financial information such as budgets. Then the second one is administrative transparency, which is the openness of local officials' activities and the processes, such as the bidding processes. People need to know what's going on with the contracts.
Yes.
Political transparency, which is the openness of elected officials and quorum codes, such as their meeting times, place, agendas, and minutes. So people need to know what's going on in the quorum codes. They need to be informed so that they can participate. So based on all that, even when we give our recommendation, we're looking at these 3 different types of transparency so that each county can identify which area the weakest. So in terms of the recommendations that we make, I'll hand over to Mr. ACRE who can give us the recommendations.
Yeah, so some recommendations we have, just not for any particular county, just overall, because there's room even for Washington County, the best counties, to worst, to all improve, and improve pretty quickly. So some things that we recommend are to, first of all, just, sit down and evaluate your county. Do you have a website? Are you using an AR.gov website? Like, what is your platform for getting your information to the public? And so after you've evaluated that, the types of information that we're looking for that would really just improve transparency the most are things like uploading your annual budget to your website, or updating links to your audit information. So updating your current and past bids and bid winners. Who is your county hiring? How much are you paying them? Who is getting the work in your county? And then, of course, financial disclosures, things like that for state employees, and then court meetings and court minutes. So giving your constituents the information they need to, if they want to get involved, how do they go about doing that? And that's really what it all boils down to, is at the county level, it's really important for the elected officials to be telling the people who live in their communities, hey, we want you to get involved. Here's the information you need to do that. Here's meeting minutes. Here is our budget. Here's what we're spending your money on. And increasing that transparency just honestly by promoting openness and promoting transparency at the county level.
So I saw where it says, and we're talking with the Arkansas Center for Research and Economics, Dr. Mavuto Kalulu and Tara Acquia. I saw where this is the inaugural index on this, county transparency issue. So I imagine next year, we're going to have the same report come out. Are there going to be any differences there?
So that's actually a good point. That pertains to the future plans about this index. So this assessment basically should be viewed as a diagnosis of county web transparency in Arkansas. So our plan is to release the report every other year, emphasizing not only on the score, but on the improvement counties have made. So it's something that some counties have already started to do. We've seen the counties like Faulkner County, they've already started improving on their transparency. So that's what will count more when we release the next index.
What about the, you've got the session coming up in January of next year with the Arkansas General Assembly. I mean, would you want them to do anything? Is there anything legislatively that you could do to say, hey, these are the requirements, you've got to give your citizens XYZ, you've got to give them this information?
Yes, for sure. So the Arkansas Code currently requires counties publish their financial information, basically their budget. They publish their annual financial report annually in a local newspaper in their county. So whatever newspaper in their county has the highest circulation, they're required to annually post a financial report in that paper. So this was probably a good policy when it happened. It, again, is emphasizing that transparency. Yearly, you do need to know what your county is planning on spending your tax dollars on and things like that. But given the research showing not only just in Arkansas, but overall, people aren't using newspapers as much to get their information. They want to be able to go online and find what they're looking for quickly and easily without having to pay a lot of money to do it. And so one of our big recommendations from a policy angle would be to take a look at that code and see if it needs updating, to see if maybe the time has passed for annual budget reports in a paper. Maybe that needs to transition online. So that's something that we would hope someone would consider at a legislative angle. Yeah,
and I see some of these findings here. Only 18, according to the research here, only 18 counties publish quorum court meeting times and places online. Wow, I mean that's pretty unacceptable. I think
it's way too low. We would rather have 75 counties publish quorum court meetings, times, and places online.
So I asked you. I guess I asked you which county did the best, but I mean, I guess are there multiple counties? I mean, Washington, Pulaski. Who else did fairly well?
So our top scoring counties were Washington, Pulaski, Benton, and Garland. So they are the only 4 counties in Arkansas that have a score above 0.5, which is about the halfway point for the study. Even then, there's still, like we said before, there's drastic room for every county in Arkansas to improve. But the fact that only 4 counties in Arkansas did score even at that halfway point or higher shows that there's a lot of work to be done with the rest of the county.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I really appreciate you guys coming on, and I appreciate you dedicating yourself to this, this study and, transparency. I mean, I want transparency, at all forms of government, and I think most people, wherever you fall on the political, partisan scale, you want to be able to know what your government is doing. Okay, so if people want to go and they want to get this index, this transparency index from the Arkansas Center for Research and Economics, where can they go?
Yeah, so you can find our full study on our website at www.uca.edu/ACRE. And so it is right there, very prominent on the front page of our home screen. To find the rest of our research on transparency, you visit the ACRE website. And under our research areas tab, you can click down to transparency. And that's where you can find not only this report, but all of our op-eds and other research that we've done on the subject.
Well, so you guys actually publish your studies online. I mean, imagine that.
Being transparent.
That's right. You guys are transparent in your research. Well, hey, I appreciate it. Dr. Kalulu and Tara Acque, I really appreciate you guys coming on this morning. And I'd love to have you on again soon to talk about the next study.
Sounds great. Thanks for having us.
All right.